What's your opinions on digital ID? Do you think it's a good idea?
It's obviously just an excuse to bring in this mass surveillance state, where again, they wouldn't be targeting criminals, they'd be targeting thought criminals, like myself and yourself. They'd be tracking that, they'd be tracking us and what we're doing, what we're posting on social media. Normal people, again, who are revolting, rebelling against what the people think is an illegitimate regime, two-tier policing, who want to peacefully stand up for their rights. So that's what they're actually going to use digital ID for, and not what they actually say it's for, which is protecting our borders.
100%. And I would just say, even if one could argue it might be a good idea, do you think it should be mandated, forced, the public have to have one?
Absolutely not. I think, again, you have to be so careful with government overreach into something like this, because there's always an expansion of what they do. They'll say you'll be first just X, Y, Z, do this, and then you need a digital ID to work, you need a digital ID to leave the country. They'll expand this into a greater area as much as they possibly can. So that's what you've got to really be careful about.
We got Ava Evans from Politics Joe.
Hi Nigel. Keir Starmer is reportedly seriously considering introducing digital ID to tackle immigration. Is that something you would support?
Yes, it's a Blairite idea. I'm sure that Tony Blair would have us all microchipped. No, I don't support it. I don't trust big government. If you want to see why my trust in government doesn't exist, just think about what's happened in the space of the last week, where they introduced legislation that they tell you is purely to protect children and actually is having a terrible effect on free speech and democracy. I would not trust this government with digital ID. I have to say I didn't particularly enjoy the vaccine passport phase that we lived through. And as for the argument, it'll stop crime, it'll stop illegal immigration, it'll stop illegal working, well, I don't think digital ID will stop teenage girls being raped. I don't think digital ID will stop the drugs gangs. I don't think digital ID will stop illegal working. Frankly, what it's more likely to do is to impinge upon the law-abiding majority.
The technology and the digital infrastructure, I just want to emphasize how important I think that is. Because in the end, you need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure. And many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
Many people are a little worried about what will happen to them with the digital euro. Can you encourage them? Why is the digital euro good for people like you and me?
A digital currency where it has been piloted, and there is only one which is clearly now launched in a very small country, but it is piloted on a fairly large scale in China, is of use and of service to all citizens. So it is not something that is good for the elite, or is good for the young, or is good for some versus others. If it is well done and if it is well implemented, it would be of service to all citizens.
These people have invested so much money on finding every excuse they can to try and get us, in the case of digital ID, get us to voluntarily want to adopt it. And we have to focus on the fact that if digital ID does not succeed and people do not comply, it will fail. I mean, it is the cornerstone of like the entire UN Agenda 2030. Without it, the programmable surveillable money won't work. A lot of their designs for what they want to do in the online virtual world will not work. And so much of it will not work if we do not comply with digital ID, and they're trying to force it on us as a voluntary thing, sort of in the same way that vaccine passports were voluntary, which is why I encourage people, if you want to change the direction the world is going, you need to figure out how you are going to set up your life so you don't have to comply with digital ID the same way, maybe if you were forced to comply with vaccine mandates and vaccine passports, how will you get around those type of restrictions when they try and impose, digital ID on people for various reasons? As I said earlier, before it was about, the vaccine and all of that. Now in the U.S., conservatives mainly are being pitched as this is a solution to illegal migration. This is a solution to voter fraud and all of this stuff. There's efforts to frame biometric digital ID as essential to solving cybercrime. and hacking and cyberbullying and any other normal of essentially any ill of society. They're just going to say digital ID is going to be the solution to that. And they're sales pitches. But ultimately, if we, the digital ID is essential to the whole idea of the social credit score and any of these other, Orwellian designs that, at least enough people, I hope, know by now, is part and parcel of this agenda. And I think, again, it comes up to people having to make a choice. And the way they do this is through, they try and get us to comply with this is through convenience. It's convenience to opt in. It's convenient to have a digital ID. It's convenient to have, money on your phone and have your whole life be based on your smartphone and all of this. It's convenient to vote once every 4 years for one of the two lesser evils in all of this. But really, it's the convenience that they're using to enslave us. And it's inconvenient to find ways to opt out of these systems and change your life so that you're more resilient and your life is actually sustainable for you and your family and your community. It's perhaps inconvenient to get off of the couch and off of the chair and go meet your neighbors physically and stop being on the online world so much and making real human connections and real human solutions to the problems we're facing. Because, again, that's why during COVID, the lockdowns, I think, were a big part of it, to keep people isolated, to keep people from connecting and force people to feel like they could only connect with others through this virtual world that these people control. Because they control the infrastructure, the software, and the platforms. So I think, people need to consider that this convenience is really the carrot. Maybe there will be a stick at some point, but they seem to be focused a lot on the carrot and the idea of having us voluntarily adopt these things because it's easy, the way they're setting things up, or it will be easy. Or they'll frame it that way at least. But I think it's very important for people to realize that they have the power. Otherwise, they wouldn't be investing all this money to manipulate us and pitch us on this. And we should take the power back as people. And we do that by taking actions in our own lives and doing things in our neighborhoods and our communities and with our families. And realizing that this is not where we want to go at the end of the day. And there is so much we can do. And I think a good starting point, again, is to say no to digital ID. We don't need this biometric digital ID surveillance state that's going to be used not just to surveil what we're doing in real time, but also to predict what we might do in the future. A lot of these plans on the books and things that are being developed by these intelligence agencies are all about predictive policing, meaning pre-crime, and also applying that same methodology to healthcare. Prevent the next pandemic before it happens and all of this stuff. So you don't even need to declare a pandemic anymore to get emergency youth authorization or mandates in particular communities and stuff like that. That is the world they are setting up. It is very bad, and we should opt out, and we can opt out.
They are now pushing wearables on the population and starting with external wearables and then going into internal wearables in the future. We do know as well, Gates Foundation funded what's called microneedle patch implants that install quantum dots in skin for about 5 years for use as vaccine passports. Again, this is on the National Library of Medicine website. The plan appears to be going from external wearables, get them to wear that, and then you go into the internal wearables, these implants.
Biological, genetic, and physiological data from the individual without their knowledge or permission. They are now products owned by the corporation that gave them the poke. At the top of all of those corporations is BlackRock and Vanguard. Information is now the new gold, and it will be the foundation for the new financial system coming, the CBDC. The next step is a quantum dot tattoo that will slowly release quantum micro dots, chips, into the human body, individualizing and authenticating all data for each individual. This is part of a transhuman agenda being initiated upon the population without their knowledge by global elitists working primarily through the WEF, the WHO, the IMF, and other global control systems that are not any part of one government. This technology will link every human being into the Internet of Bodies. It is the foundation for a global CBDC that will be controlled with quantum systems. This technology has the capacity to fully surveil and control every individual.
Sorry, we don't take cash.
Okay. 1 second.
Sorry, we don't take card either.
I'm sorry? What am I supposed to use?
Can you step to the side so you can figure this out?
Can I speak to your manager? No! Excuse me. Do you guys take checks? You don't need it. I have the money. You don't need it. Okay, what the hell is that? Excuse, when was that implemented? I don't have that.
Sorry, but we're cashless now. I had to implement the new system just to stay in business.
It's okay, Mom. You don't need it. Let's just go.
I hope you understand.
Every UK working adult will need Brit Card digital ID on their Starmer plan to tackle immigration. So first, they give you the chaos, and then here comes the order, right? Because everything that happened with immigration, the migration crisis, right? It was all done on design from the wars that causes these other countries to seek asylum in other countries, right? Where there is no wars. That is done by design. Like they always say, all wars are bankers' wars, right? The banking family, believe you me, they're the ones that are in charge of this digital ID nonsense. The CBDCs, well, digital currency. Of course, the banking family will be behind that. You see? So first, they give you the migration crisis. They let everybody in. Then they say, oh, we gotta, make sure that we know who is coming into our country. We gotta keep track. Now you understand. They needed that migration crisis. They needed you to complain, right? That is that problem, reaction, solution. First, they create the problem, the migration crisis, and then they manipulate your reaction to that problem, right? And then eventually they come in with a solution to that problem. What is that? The digital ID surveillance system. See? So Civil Liberties Group warn mandatory digital ID risks. Digital IDs risk pushing unauthorized migrants further into the shadows. You see, it says here, every working adult in Britain will be required to have a new government-issued digital identity card as a part of a fresh attempt to crack down on illegal migration. You see, this is how they do. This is how they operate. This is the way the devil operates. That's why you cannot be ignorant of the devil's devices. You can afford to be ignorant on how they operate. See? So all this whole migration thing and you complaining about it, well, here they come with a solution. Here they come with a solution. Says the Prime Minister is expected to announce his backing for the Brit Card scheme, which would verify an individual's right to live and work in the UK. In his speech on Friday, says the plan, which will require a large change to implement, comes amid mounting pressure on ministers to take more drastic action to tackle migration as boat crossing reach a record high and the asylum backlog is still above 75,000. Pressure exacerbated by the success of Reform UK in the polls. You see? So it's all done by design. So, but the leaders of 8 civil liberty group have warned that mandatory digital ID risks pushing unauthorized migrants further into the shadows. Earlier this year, the government began looking at proposals for some form of digital ID for adults in Britain with the view that it could help to tackle illegal migrants who are working in the black economy. It says they have looked to the example of Estonia, which uses a mandatory ID card system. So this is a worldwide thing. Before we go any further, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000, down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days, were all of the elect, and to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty, to you all I say shalom, right? So it says, so Kerr will say progressives must not shy away from people's concerns when he speaks at the Global Progress Action Summit in London, alongside Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, recognizing the concerns that exist around uncontrolled immigration, right? So this is what they do. They wanted this so it can usher in this digital system. They needed this migration crisis. That's why they opened the borders. The same thing with how Biden did it. Now they looked at Biden as he was incompetent. Well, they wanted to be so that Trump can come in and usher in this digital way. You see? It is all the same. The left, the right, they play with your emotions, they play with your mind, and then the people end up fighting one another instead of the actual problem. That's how they do. You see? It says, he will say for too many years it's been too easy for people to come here. Who made it so? Who made it easy for people to come here? Is it right? To slip into the shadow economy and remain here illegally. It is not compassionate left-wing politics to rely on labor that exploits foreign workers and undercuts fair wages, but the simple fact that every nation needs to have control over its borders, he will add, right? It says he will take what will be seen as a swipe at reform, accusing them of the politics of predatory grievance, preying on the problems of working people, which he will contrast with his idea of patriotic renewal. He will say this will be rooted in communities building a better country, brick by brick, from the bottom up, brick by brick. Sounds like Snowfall. If you've seen the series Snowfall, you know, the guy is talking about brick by brick. I built this thing brick by brick. Brick meaning, you know, the drugs he was sending in, right? That's how they operate, right? That's how the wicked operates, man. Everything is very calculated. There's a method to their madness. It looked like, oh, they're just opening the borders and letting everybody in Ireland, in all throughout Europe, right? In the States, everywhere. Well, this is the reason why. So they can bring in this digital concentration camp. That is why. It says including everyone in the national story. Difference under the same flag. It says hitting out at toxic online discourse. He will also reference the recent march in London featuring Tommy Robinson and ex-boss Elon Musk, saying that puts most poisonous belief on full display at the protests here in London just a week or two ago, that there is a coming struggle, a defining struggle, a violent struggle for all our nations. Now we don't need to be a historian to know where the kind of poison can lead. You can just feel it, a language that is naked in its attempt to intimidate. Lord Blunkett, who worked on the Blair government's initial ID scheme 20 years ago, welcomed the decision, saying its time has come. Its time has come. This is the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse. I will climb up to my watchtower and stand at my guard post. There I will wait and see what the Lord says and how he will answer my complaint. It goes on to say the Lord's second reply. When the Lord said to me, write my answer plainly on tables so that the runner can carry the correct message to others. And here we are giving you that correct message. We are those runners carrying that message, the correct message to others. What is that message? Well, this vision is for a future time. Going back here. Its time has come. The digital world, this mark of the beast system, right? The beast system is being erected. Why? Because the time has come and it was prophesied a long time ago. So going back here. It says this vision is for a future time, and that is that time that has come right now in the present, in our modern age. It says it describes the end and it will be fulfilled. It describes the end. So we are in the end times, the end of an age, right? The end of the wicked rulership. But before that end comes, it's going to go out with a bang, 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 right? My baby shot me down, right? It says, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. So it took a while for us to get here where we are right now. That they are rubbing all of this stuff in your face. This time has come. It says age verification to protect our children and young people, right? Like they really care about children, right? With all these children that go missing, and they themselves, these so-called elected officials, they're all in it, right? They use their lust to blackmail them, right, into submission, so they can never ever falter on what the agenda is, because all of them are freaks, man. They're all freaks. Diddy is not the only one freaking off. They're all freaks, every single one of them, right? So now they're using it's for the children, to play with your emotions. They don't care. They don't give a flying F about the children. Believe in me, they don't. It's just a guise to get at the agenda, to get it on and popping. This is avoidance of exploitation by organized criminals abusing people in the sub-economy, acting as a deterrent to unauthorized entry across the channel and protection from fraud. You see that? You see? That is that problem reaction solution. You see? Are just some of the benefits which could arise from a well-implemented program, he said. Says it is the unplanned current mishmash that presents a threat to people's privacy as well as a risk of data breach, fraudulent stealing of identity, and misuse. I mean, hey, they'll see through that these are possible pitfalls of all this whole thing, but don't worry about it. We got it covered. Says the former Labor Home Secretary argued that the introduction of digital identification will have to be truly universal. That's why they are called globalists. See, it's a worldwide thing. It's not an isolated thing. It will have to be truly universal, consolidating a whole range of digital documentation used in everyday life. It's going to be universal. That's what we have here real quick. In Mexico biometric ID, oh crap, is the cuerpo.
Oh crap, it's the cuerpo. This is Mexico's biometric ID. I spent a lot of time in Mexico. I mean, people generally know that it feels like a decade behind when it comes to technology, but bam, out of nowhere, they come out with a digital ID system that is supposed to be fully mandatory next year. Mexico's supposed to be a country that runs on cash. You're supposed to have fresas and crema, you know? You can buy SIM cards with cash without giving any personal information. So it just feels like a lot. It's changing quickly. The Mexican government just signed this biometric CURP law, CURP, which CURP stands for Clave Única de Registro de Población, or Unique ID for Population Registration. In Mexico, it's known as the cuerpo. That's what they call it. So this number is the number that you get when you're applying for residency. And I've known people who've gone through the residency process, and they have you submit your fingerprints, all 10 of them, scan your irises, and take a photo. So with this bill, they've been doing this for years. So now we see their true intention. They were tying all that information up to be sent to a digital ID. And this information includes everything I just mentioned. So that's part of it. The irises, the fingerprints, the electronic signature, the photograph, the works. And the government says they're doing this to help track down missing persons. Missing people. Well, the obvious question is how, if biometric system would help people who never enrolled into the system in the first place, how is it going to help find them? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this...
Because it's never about that. They have to put it out. It's always for the greater good. It's never about what they trying to pretend it to be, right? It is the surveillance system that they are building. That's exactly what it is. That's why it doesn't make sense. It never makes sense, but they will try to play with your emotions to make it look like it's always for your own good, right? And we know these guys, they are not the humanitarians that they pretend to be, right? They're never that. So what is their true agenda? That's what you got to ask yourself every time they come up with all this stuff and trying to disguise it as something good for you. You always got to ask, what is their real motive, right?
Implementation of the cuerpo will come in 3 phases: the pilot program in Veracruz, then in Mexico City and the state of Mexico, and in February 2026, the ID will become mandatory nationwide, mandatory. And from on that point onwards, it's going to be required for things like renewing voter ID. Look at that guy. He's like thinking, should I get the cuerpo? Newsflash, don't get the cuerpo. It'll be used for things like renewing voter ID, school registrations, social program enrollment, and obtaining a passport. You won't be able to go to school without this thing. Come on. Well, I mean, I guess that's a good thing if you don't want to go to school. The law also promises million peso fines. Million pesos. Millones pesos. I think that's how they say it, which is equivalent to about 50,000 US. Now, this wouldn't be against residents, but federal authorities who fail to comply with the enforcement of the cuerpo. And so I think this is pretty smart. This is like a precautionary measure against the local corruption of police and government officials who might take bribes. And newsflash, they definitely take bribes. They'll pull you over from speeding, and they probably want a bribe. So now they're putting the hammer down and saying, you were going to get in big trouble, mister. So what happens February onwards, February 2026, when this becomes mandatory? Now, after that point, I mean, why wouldn't they add more things that require the cuerpo? They've already said that corporations need to start accounting for the cuerpo and the records for people, right, in their information systems. They need to start accounting for this ID. So, I mean, this is pretty serious. You can see things, important services like utilities and cellular service that would require the cuerpo.
Yep, so you got the idea. In Mexico is going down, right? So this is a global thing. It is a worldwide thing. Believe that. That's why the UK right now, they're making it, they're mandated mandating it to every adult, so from adult to overreach to every single body, even children. I believe in Kenya they have this digital ID for every born child. Once the child is born, they will just have it right away, right? Kind of like the new birth certificate will now be the digital ID. You see, this is where we are, this digital system. This is the times we're in. Going back here real quick. The vision, Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, and the 3rd verse. The vision is for a future time. It describes the end. So that's the vision that the prophets they got, right? The Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, gave them the vision of the end that's describing this whole digital system that's being set up right in front of your face, right? We are living in that future time. Describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, because it took a while to get here, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. It will no longer be delayed. That's where everything is moving warp speed. They cannot wait to get this thing up and running. They cannot wait. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter and the 68th verse. Start from the 68th verse. It says, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, for they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. So this is going into the concentration camps that they got over there, like they got throughout the places, right? You know, they got concentration camps where you wouldn't even suspect. So what are they going to do with that? Well, they will lock you up in these places. So this is where they will re-educate you, especially if you're not going with the agenda. So that is that burning wrath of a great multitude that is kindled over you. So while you're there, they will starve you and do all kinds of things to you. Why? To break your will. So they can feed you with things offered unto idols. What is that? Well, the main thing is the mark of the beast. To get you to worship this beast, this idol, through that contract that will be done digitally. And digital ID system is a huge component of that. You see, it says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. So even when you consent and think, oh man, you know, let's just get it over with, right? You cannot consent yourself out of tyranny. There was a lady that made that statement. It said, you cannot just consent your way out of tyranny. The more you consent, the more they require from you. See? So even when you think you're just going to have to consent and so you can get it behind you, well, you'll be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. Because you can't trust the devil. You just cannot do that, right? You just cannot trust the devil. You see? It goes on to say, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So an insurrection is coming. That is your civil war, race wars, left and right wars, political wars, all kinds of wars will be out there, man. You know, the government versus the people, military versus the people, civilians, right? So they shall be like madmen, sparing none. Who is that? Well, their military might that they will bring upon you, so they can establish the NWO. You see? So they're going to come at you hardcore. It says, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So their main aim is those that fear the Lord. That's why they brought it up here 2 times. Because those that fear the Lord know not to take the mark of the beast. And that right there makes you an enemy of the state. Because if you don't want to comply to the agenda, you become an enemy. You're already an enemy, but it will raise the level of your being an enemy. You see? So, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So you'll be there in your homes. Military personnel will break in there, grab you up, throw you into concentration camps. Why? Because you're at the center. You're not agreeing with the agenda, so they have a problem with that. You see? So they'll take you out of your homes, throw you into some place you've never been before, and lock you up there until you get to see reason. By seeing reason, you get to see things their way, right? It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen. So when they start doing all this stuff, it will be made known who are my chosen. Who are these chosen? Well, the elect, beginning with the 144,000, the elect men, to the men, women, and children, the 1/3 that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days. See? So these are those chosen. So while all this hell is breaking loose, it will become evident who the chosen are. Why? Because the Lord will be with them. He will protect them. He will guide them to make the right choices in all the things they do. They wouldn't have fear of men. And they shall be tried as gold in the fire. So those chosen also will be tried. They will all be in the midst of all this hell, this chaos, catching hell. But the difference is we'll have the Lord on our side. It says, hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. We are entering into the days of trouble. That's what we are. We are entering in the days of trouble, but the Lord will deliver us from the same. That is our prayer. And all this hell breaking loose, that we will find refuge in the Lord, right? It says, be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. So this is the type of mindset you're supposed to have. You cannot be afraid. You cannot doubt, not for a second, because you doubting will collapse your faith. You know, you don't want your faith collapse in this latter days, man. You need your faith rock solid. You see, you need it rock solid so you won't be easily shaken and moved in these times, man, because all kinds of hell is ready to break loose. All kinds of deception is ready to break loose. They already put in that the aliens come in tab thing, right? So you gotta prepare your mind for false alien invasions and things like that. So there's all kinds of deceptions and things coming. That's why they push the rapture that is going to happen, and supposedly was supposed to happen in the 23rd of September, I believe, right? So you got to keep your mind rock solid in the faith so you won't be deceived. Let's close out with this in the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter. Judgment against wealthy oppressors, that is your banking families, the wicked elites that run the whole show. It says, Micah 2:1, what sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night, thinking up evil plans. The digital ID, how to implement it, make it to where every man, woman, and child will have it. That is the mark of the beast system, right? They were required to get this mark of the beast to be able to operate in the world. It says, you rise at dawn and hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so. The powers that shouldn't be, they have the powers be given to them to do so. And prepare for them to put out all kinds of hell, pure hell upon the people, so they can establish this great reset. It says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. That's where you get you will own nothing and be happy. So they're coming for everything you got, so you'll be solely dependent on the government. Through the digital ID, they will measure out what you have to eat, what you have to do, where you have to go. That is what they want. Total control. Total control. And we are here. We are here right now. The UK, they are going full steam ahead with it. Mexico is going full steam ahead. Every other parts of the world been going there, right? So believe you me, it is coming to a city near you. And with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.